Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips, he teach buying Tams and killer tips. Buyer, sellers, wheel and deal. Real stories, keep it real. Snag a bargain, flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.
I'm here with FBA Dave. He's on Facebook and Instagram for sure. What else are you on?
Mainly just Facebook and Instagram. I am trying to grow my YouTube channel as well, but mostly active on Facebook and Instagram.
I actually found you. I saw, it's probably been a couple weeks. You shared like a screenshot of your eBay 90-day total in like one of the Facebook reselling groups. And I'm like, I usually run a high 90-day total, and you don't see those kind of screenshots in those kind of groups very often. You see 8,000, 12,000, 15, but yours is over 100 grand. So it caught my attention. So obviously I had to click on your profile and check you out. And I'm like, oh, this guy moves some volumes. So
awesome. Yeah. It's what I do is totally a volume moving game for sure.
Yes. So I see that you mainly sell books. So is that all of it, or do you have other stuff mixed in there with mainly books?
I would say 99.9% is books, and also not just any books. They're all used books. So I would say 99.8% used books, and then 0.1% new books, and then another 0.1% in like media, like CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, that sort of thing. Video games too. But primarily, my numbers are from used books.
So I bet you get this asked all the time because I'm not really a thrifter. I go to thrift stores every once in a while, but that's not my primary way of getting inventory. But I've scanned books on eBay, and most of the time you see books, $7 free shipping, $8 free shipping, $9 free shipping. And my big question is like, how are these guys making money? Yeah, and I'm sure you get that all the time, and I think I saw that in a lot of your comments. So how do you make money?
So I get a lot of those comments. A lot of people are like in disbelief, and a lot of people are like, yeah, man, you're making like pennies, because after fees and everything, after shipping, you're left with like what, 25 cents profit, 50 cents profit, whatever the case may be. So for those that don't know, and I'm going to tell you on your show, I get a discounted shipping rate, okay, via a shipping contract, and it only works with books, okay. It's called BPM, which is bound printed matter, okay. And I'm taking it one step above your typical bound printed matter is called pre-sort bound printed matter. So what happens is the post office says like, okay, well, you ship this amount of volume, but it would really be nice if you can help us pre-sort into different zip codes per se. Okay. They don't call them zip codes. They call them regions. And then those would be already divvied up so they know where to ship those to. So it kind of saves them an extra step, really. Okay. And that's why they are able to pass down the discount. So when they pass down the discount, my average shipping cost is roughly about $2.60 per book. Right. And the average media mail cost, I think, is like almost close to $5 at this point. So I make the spread. So if I sell a book for $10, I would make a lot more than somebody that's shipping out with media mail.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also too, our process is very, very refined. And we ship over 100 books per hour.
Wow.
So yeah, exactly. So those are the things you have to be very refined. You have to be very efficient. Processes that took years upon years to build. And that's how we do it. That's how we make money.
So even if you're breaking even on the book, you're making that $2 spread every single book. So
yeah, exactly. That
$2 spread, even if you're breaking even on the book, you're still making 100 times $2 every hour, all day long. And that's a good point. And, yeah, you can say like, even if we broke even on the book, but for us though, we offer quote unquote free shipping. So our cost of shipping is already baked into the final product, right? So then it's just going to be that spread all day long. And our minimum profit, is $1 per book all day. But usually we come up to roughly about, on average, I just made a video on that. Our average, profit per book is roughly about $7. When you're doing what you do, did you just start off selling books and the post office approached, or the USPS approached you and be like, hey, you're selling a lot of books. let's do this, or did you know how to approach them to get the shipping contract?
Oh yeah, no, they would never approach you. So the post office,
Yeah.
they don't they don't really
Yeah, they
care
don't
about much
care
of
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta have to fend for yourself. You know, I meet a lot of industry leaders in my field. You know, once you start like cranking up some volume, I've meet people from you know, from different social medias, and they would tell me like, hey, why don't you ship like through this? Or you just got to contact the post office and, you know, and get a contract with them, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to kind of like work up the line. As of this recording, I will say I am not sure if that option is even available anymore. I don't think they are open to opening up new accounts for this BPM type shipping. Okay, because it's really a loss leader for them. They do it so that they're hoping that you would ship with their higher profit products like ground shipping or priority shipping. And we do sometimes, right? But our majority is really BPM. So I don't think that's really on the table anymore for most people.
Well, I'll tell you from my experience, I ship not like you, obviously, but for your average eBayer, I ship a pretty decent sized stack out every day where they actually send a special pickup just for me every single day that outside of the normal route. So somehow my local postmaster put me into a system where I get a call once a month from a USPS business line. And one time on my call with the rep who calls me once a month, I just asked, I'm like, I'm on eBay, obviously. How are these people shipping these books $7 free shipping? Like, there's obviously has to be some kind of program that's outside of what I'm being offered, you know. How do I do that? And my business rep had no idea what I'm talking about. So for people listening at home, it's not just going into your local post office or even talking to a USPS business rep. It's you got to go up the chain.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to
Different
go up the
avenues.
chain.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a really good point, and you're absolutely right about that. When you go up to like the post office counter, they're not going to know anything about this. Even if you go towards the back where the business office is, most times the people there are not also going to. You need somebody really specialized in this particular type of shipping that really knows what they're talking about, and only then would you be able to talk to them and negotiate them setting you up with that type of account. It's a bit of a laundry list of things to do. You got to prove volume, you got to prove shipping zip code, manifest. There's so many hoops to jump through before they finally are willing to go through that process with you. And again, I'm not sure if that process is open anymore, but when I did it, that's what I had to do. So not everybody knew about it. Most people did not know about it, even internally.
Yeah, like I said, I'm talking to a rep outside of my local post office once a month, and my local rep had no clue what I was talking about. So it's not just something that anybody, and you already got to be doing the volume. I'm assuming you had to eat some dollars leading up to it just to get the contract. I'm sure you had to start out shipping media mail like everyone else to prove that you were going to put that kind of volume out to even have the conversation.
Yep, exactly that. So when we first started, I think through media mail, I think we were only banking like I want to say between 75 and 100 orders a day through media mail. So once we located an actual rep that knew what they were doing, right? And we are like, well, what do you need from me? What do you need me to prove? It's like, well, I need you to prove at least like 30 days of manifest, right? So then for the next 30 days, that's what we did. You know, I ate crap. You know, I just lost money. I was just bleeding it. It doesn't matter because I knew that if I get this, then the game would change for me. And that's sometimes that's what you have to do because you got to sacrifice to get, you know, the goods, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of like the whatnot sellers. You got to go on there and do 20 shows giving away your stuff with 4 people in your room before you start building the following and start making the big dollars like you see. You had to eat your $5 per book shipping or whatever it is right now.
Yep, exactly that.
On
exactly
$7
that.
books to get there. So
yeah. So in a way, you can say that, like I paid for it, but it paid me back. You know, many times over. It paid me back. So yeah, definitely worth it for me anyway.
Well, I was planning on getting into the shipping sometime in this episode, you know, because that's a big topic that a lot of people ask. I wasn't expecting to leave off with it, but
that's the biggest question, though. That's the biggest question. Yeah, let's knock that out of the park.
So, you're a reseller. Were you always reselling books and media, or did you have like a humble start like most people did? And Let's take it to the beginning on what got you into reselling.
So I wouldn't say it was a humble start.
Yeah.
I had a prior business. I was in auto repair for 10 years. I had an auto repair business for about a decade. The last year of my auto repair business, we hit COVID, and we had COVID had this, if you remember the government shutdowns, right? So nobody was driving anywhere for a long while. So if you don't put mileage on your car, guess what? You don't need servicing on your car, right?
Yeah. And no oil changes or tires or anything like that.
Nothing. Yeah. Like it was just a complete standstill of a business. So then, I had to make a determination. Like I just had my, my kid a year ago, and then my second one was about to come. So I'm like, oh crap, what am I going to do? Right. So then, I'm old. I didn't know Instagram existed for a long time. So it was 2020, and I finally said, like, what is this Instagram thing? So I got on Instagram, I downloaded it, and I was like watching videos, and, obviously like money was on my mind and how to make money. So it's like the algorithm just fed me like all these people that were doing side hustles. And, I see like some people that was like selling books online. I'm like, there's no way, my first thought is like, people buy books. That's crazy. People don't buy books anymore. I didn't believe it. So I tried it. I lost money for my first 3 months, but I saw the vision though. I saw what I was doing wrong. I course corrected. And then I just started going to thrift more, doing it correctly. Library sales, doing it correctly. I think my first year, I actually did about, close to 100,000 in sales my first year. And then my second year, just like 5x that. And then my third year, 10x that. So it just kept going from there. It went from just thrifting to now we get them by these semi truckloads.
Yeah, I was gonna go. I'm like, I know you're not thrifting $100 an hour. You just you just started off with books right away. You didn't have a period where you were selling t-shirts or electronics or anything like that. You went straight to books.
Yeah, I went straight to books. I mean, in between books, I did try the other stuff like clothing was one, and I did try that, but I couldn't do the whole like size and the pictures and all that, like I really like speed, and in my field, selling books, it's very fast. It's very, we don't even take pictures, right? A lot of times, and we can get into that later, but our process is very much scan barcode, software populates, software lists, software cross lists, software ships, software tells me what to pick, software tells me what to ship, and we're done. Yep.
Listing process here in a little bit. So, you just started going to thrift stores and book sales and started buying books. Were you only eBay at that time, or were you doing Amazon?
Yeah, actually, it was quite the opposite around. I was doing 99% Amazon at that time.
99% Amazon.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Amazon has their FBA program, which is, short for Fulfilled by Amazon. So it was very advantageous at the time for me to find any books that was profitable after taking out Amazon fees. And there was software that allows us to scan through a ton of books really quickly, that we could just go ahead and send it over to Amazon. No fuss. They ship it out, take care of all the customer stuff. Like, they were kind of like the partners in that respect. Yeah. So that's what I started off with. Over the course of time, that program has drastically changed to where I feel like currently it's not like the best model to go after, selling books wise. There's high fees, high return rates, and it's a mess. It's a mess, so now we fulfill
Don't they
ourselves.
Charge storage to store those books in your warehouse?
Yeah, they've definitely increased storage fees. Fourth quarter storage fees are like triple. It's so much. It's so much negative aspects of doing it FBA style right now. Not to say that you can't, but you just have to be very wary of FBA. Although I do want to share one of the things that kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for me and diverted me away from FBA completely at this point. I don't do FBA at all. Well, 5%. In December of 2025, 2 weeks before Christmas, I get an email from Amazon, and basically they told me that we suspect that your account is under Section 3 violation of drop shipping. Okay, which in layman's terms means that we think you're not doing right in your account, so we're just going to shut you down for a minute while we investigate. right? So while they do that, they freeze my funds. And running this big operation, even over the course of, it was only 30 days that before they released it, but it was still 50K of my money that they just like locked up, right? And it was a possibility that I would never see that again. So after that point,
stories like that.
Yeah, after that point, I was like, I can't, I can't do that anymore. I can't let them have that much control. So that's why I really took it back this year for us. Yeah.
So walk me through the steps, because obviously you were doing library sales and thrift stores. And back then, you probably could get away with that. I've heard stories now, a lot of them have the same scanning software that you probably use. And some of that good stuff doesn't hit the floor like it used to, I'm assuming, because I've heard stories about Goodwill scanning the books now and stuff like that. I'm sure stuff gets missed, but... So were you doing that out of like a spare room at your house or your garage or something? So...
Yeah, was I? Oh my gosh. Sean, I was doing it. I started off in my dining room. And I still have pictures of it. I should post that up soon. I like to tell stories
like that because not everyone, like I lease a 2,000 square foot building that I do my eBay out of. So, but I started in my garage like everyone else. So I think it's important for people listening to, like, you didn't go rent a warehouse right away. Like I didn't go lease a building right away. You started off in your dining room. So let's tell a story about starting off in your dining room and working your way up.
Yeah, buddy. So it started off in my dining room. And then after the dining room was filled up, I filled up my garage. And then after my garage was filled up, I started attacking the living room until my wife says, no, you got to get out. So then I had to get a storage unit, right? So I got my first storage unit after that, which I quickly filled. And then I got my second storage unit. I ended up with like 4 storage unit at one point before full of books before I got into my first warehouse, my first warehouse was only 1,500 square feet, relatively small because I was in this stage, what we call baby bulk, or I called it baby bulk.
At this time, are you a solopreneur? You're by yourself still at this time?
No, I had 2 employees at this time.
So at the store, once you reach the storage unit level, you had some help?
Yeah. Once I reached the storage unit level, I definitely needed some help. So and 1,500 square foot, that lasted for about...
if you don't mind, share like where you were like gross before you hired and, like all those steps. So people can kind of get that idea.
So let me see.
Like what was your max gross before you realized, hey, I need help? Like what was that breaking number? Because we all hit a point where like, okay, I can't get any bigger by myself. And then
so
you got to consider bringing someone else in.
I realized pretty quickly that in order for me to make as much money as I could from this and as fast as I could, I wasn't going to be able to do it myself. So what I did was I took a look at what my net was, not necessarily even my gross, like what I was actually bringing in by myself. And then, so I think at first I was bringing in a very comfortable like 4K a month by myself, but doing that though, I was working like every weekend, most nights. So I was missing a lot of time with my family. So then I went ahead and hired my first part-timer, which helped me source a lot. Even when I'm not there, he would be sourcing for me. And that scaled me up to 100K. So my income didn't like go up that much at that point.
Are you still sourcing with thrift stores?
Yep, sourcing with thrift stores.
You're having someone help you go to different thrift stores and different libraries.
Exactly. Okay. And this is where I couldn't bring stuff into my house because now we got strangers coming. So, so we got a storage unit, for my part-timers to just go ahead and put whatever they source into the storage unit, and then I could, double check. And I even had them listing out of the storage unit as well at one point. And then it wasn't until... This is
still all Amazon, right?
This is still all Amazon, correct.
Okay.
And then once we got to the point where we landed our first bulk contract, which was about 2020, that's when we got our first warehouse. And I think my gross at that point was still a little... It was a little over 100K. It was a little over 100K at that point, right? But
you were taking a big risk bringing people on when you were only grossing a little over 100K.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty big gamble because after fees and everything, and the profit margin is small on books, and then so you're not making a bunch, and then you're got someone else's couple people's livelihoods on there. So that was a big gamble.
Oh yeah.
With $100,000 gross.
Yep. Absolutely, it was. But the whole idea was like I wasn't planning on really making a whole lot myself at the time. I just wanted to be able to grow the business, right? And I needed hands to grow the business, you know. So that was the whole idea, and you know, luckily it worked out, you know. So when we were at the 1,500 square foot warehouse, that lasted roughly about 6 months, and then we outgrew that, and we needed like the next step up, which was a 7,000 square foot warehouse. And that lasted for another year before we got another warehouse, which is another like 5,000 square feet. So we're total like 12,000 square foot now.
So now you're at 12,000. You think that's going to be the top, or do you have aspirations to get bigger than?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's just today before I got on your show, I had to give up a truckload of books at a really good price because I didn't have the space. So we're talking about lost opportunity, and I hate lost opportunity because you know, it could have been with some more foresight, it could have been prevented or it could have been capitalized. But I missed it. I'm not going to cry about it now. I did. So maybe I'll get it back later. But the problem was I just didn't have enough space, right? Either A, I did not have enough processing power, or B, I didn't have enough space, or a combination of, which led me to not having that inventory, which then led me to not being able to monetize that inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many employees are you up to now?
I'm currently at 11 employees. I have plans to increase another 20% by the end of this year. So then I'll probably be sitting roughly about 14 to 15 employees.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have way more listings than I do. I have about a little over 7,000 on eBay, and then they're cross-listed using Nifty on Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, all that good stuff. So I have a SKU system. So if something sells, it tells me where it's at. What's it look like? Does your warehouse look like your listed inventory? Does it look like a big library with like, walk us through your SKU and how you system and how you keep all that organized?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the one of my followers commented that asked me if I use the Dewey Decimal System in terms of our inventory. I'm like, no, man. I actually think Dewey Decimal System is like really complicated. It's really simple. It's more like, you know, when you shop at like Lowe's or Home Depot, you know, it's like you have the aisle number, and then you have like the number itself of where the item is at. And that's how we separate it, right? We have bay number, bay like A for an example, and then shelf 1, and then within shelf 1 we have book number 55.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
There's someone that does something similar with clothing. They have box 17, but then they have all the clothes lined up, and then they're all folded in their little bags. And so
exactly.
Kind of similar to someone that does like that. So you have how many books listed currently on eBay at the moment?
At the moment, as of this recording, 23,000.
So those 23,000 books on eBay, are they also on Amazon, or do you have Amazon specific inventory and eBay specific inventory, or?
Oh, no. So I'm going to be full transparent on your show. I'm going to give it all out. So we use cross-listing software that basically migrates all our listings, and it starts with Amazon, and it migrates over from Amazon to eBay, to Abe Books, to Alibris Books. Okay, so those are the major platforms. I'm not familiar with
the last two, but
those are the major platforms, and they do pretty well. I would say Abe Books add like another 15% to our revenue, and then Alibris is 10%. So it's not nothing, you know. It's pretty decent.
No. That's how I am. Like eBay is like 70% of my revenue, but the other ones add up, you know, to make up 30%, and it's
it's
worth paying for the software to be. On those other ones, you know.
Exactly.
I make way more on the other platforms than I pay for my software. So
Right.
I'm assuming you're using something that's really book specific for your cross-listing software, because obviously you're not using Nifty or Vindu or List Perfectly, because they don't do Amazon or those other two book sites you mentioned. So I'm assuming you're using something that's very media specific.
It's exactly. It's very book specific, and it's very, very expensive. If you want to know, I can tell you. It's just I'm not sure.
I don't want to.
No.
So, I'm not going to ask you to give up too many secrets to the whole internet. You know,
it don't matter. It's fine. I mean, I plan on giving it all out anyway eventually. So the software we use is called Cash Monkey. Okay. So they're kind of like a silent partner in a sense. They bill by your volume. So how much you sell is how much they kind of take it percentage wise, right? So I won't get into like what they charge me percentage wise, but I will say that what I pay is roughly about a little over $2,000 a month is what I pay in software fee, right? But they're really good though. They take care of everything from A to Z, you know, from all my inventory management to listing to shipping. So I wish they were a little cheaper, but at the same time, I wouldn't have grown my business as big as it is without them though.
Well, I'm a Nifty affiliate, so I have like an affiliate link for Nifty, and their top package is $89 a month, which what I have to pay for a store my size, and I get all the time like that's so expensive. I can't afford $89 a month. So Nifty's a bargain at $89 a month compared to what you have to pay for your software for your on the 4 sites you are. It's like,
well, I've taken a look at Nifty, and I don't think they have the capacity to handle as much volume as I want them to handle. Yeah, so it's like, I don't think that can.
I don't know if it would work for you anyways because it's not going to link to the other
two.
Yeah.
So
that's or Amazon. It doesn't do Amazon either. So.
Oh no, it doesn't do Amazon.
No, it's just the main resale sites. It doesn't do Amazon. So your inventory would be a mess because it would auto delist. Because I'm assuming your Cash Monkey, if it sells on eBay, deletes it off Amazon and the other ones for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't have like duplicate listings and double sales and that sort of fun stuff. Yeah, for sure.
That will ruin you. So you have 24,000 books currently out there.
About 23 and some change. Yeah.
20. And how many do you have in waiting? Like that aren't processed? Like,
so we just and again, like I update my Facebook and my Instagram like pretty regularly. So last week we took in 3 trucks in one single day. And each truck has 50 pallets of books on there. 50 Gaylords is what we call them, of books on there.
Yeah, I know what a Gaylord is. Yep.
Yeah, so each Gaylord houses roughly about 1,000 books. So we took in 150,000 books. So we were processing that all from last week to this week, and we're constantly getting them in. So that's how many books do we have in waiting? A ton. So many.
But if you're selling what, couple thousand books a day, obviously you're probably scanning them into your software as fast as you can. Like, you have so much going out. It isn't like you're going to keep adding on to it unless you really ramp up the.
Exactly. So, I mean, everything is just kind of like a space game, to be honest with you. It's not a lack of being able to put it up online for sale. It's just a matter of like, well, how much space do I have to store to how much space do I have for my guys to move around, right, to actually do their work, and then how much space do I have on the shelves to actually put it up there, right? Everything is a space game. So warehouse spacing to me is a premium cost. Inventory wise, I'm sitting pretty well with a lot of different suppliers that I'm able to grab inventory basically whenever I want. It took a lot of time to get here to meet the right people to make the right connections.
Absolutely. You just can't get on the internet and Google how do I buy semi-loads of books and figure it out. You have to get some kind of connection. And
yeah, you definitely need a connection. You need somebody in the inside. It's really difficult. Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about like supply line a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it. You can, like I said, I'm cautious because I know you can't give away every little detail of your business. So I'm cautious. I'm not going to just put you in an awkward spot. But you can share what you're willing to share.
Yeah, because I want your audience to know, which in turn, may be my audience too. But it's really hard at this point to get into the bulk game, which is what I do, right? Bulk books. So there's. What I preach is there's three different levels to book selling. There's your cherry picker level, okay, where we all start. Then you have your baby bulk level, which you might have a small thrift store that you kind of like are in pseudo contract with, that you take all their stuff, and you maybe have like a Gaylord or 2 worth per week of material. And then you get to the bulk side, which is what I do. And at that point, you are no less than maybe 1.5 to 2 truckloads a month is what you're taking in. And it's really difficult right now to get to that point. I feel like it's definitely, you can always start with cherry picking. And then you have a decent shot at the smaller mom and pop thrift stores to get into baby bulk, but to get into full bulk and to maximize, the supply and juice everything as much as we do, it's really difficult to get the in, because you're not going to be able to talk to any of the bigger suppliers. They're just not going to take you seriously. There's a couple of reasons. A lot of times at this point of the game, they already have large players lined up, right? Not even including myself. There's some big players out there, World of Books, Thrift Books, like XYZ Books, whatever you can want to call it, any big online presence, they already have the in to that particular, business. So they usually will deal with them first, unless somebody pisses them off and they're like, I don't want to deal with you anymore. And then they might not call the next person, right? So a lot of times I'm kind of like I was, when we first started, it kind of like in a queue, right? Where like, well, if this doesn't work out with them, then we'll call Dave.
Yes.
Right.
Like if they turn down a load, like, oh, Dave will take a load.
Exactly.
Obviously in that situation where you were going to turn a load down, may put you in poor favor with them, because like, well, he's not taking what we're giving him. So
right. Which is why I try my hardest. I try my very, very hardest, even if I have to like shove books up people's noses. I try my hardest to take whatever loads my supplier wants me to take. If they call me and say, Dave, I have a truck that I need you to take right now, unless I am completely, which right now we are completely jammed. There's not, you can squeeze anything in there, then, I would take it. And that's to make yourself look very reliable for your supplier, so that you're going to be the first on their list to call, because you don't know when they're going to knock, but when they do, you got to answer the call, right? Because, usually when I pay X amount of dollar per truckload, we comb our truckloads in terms of like how well they do. If this supplier does well, then we keep them. If this supplier doesn't do well, we do this. So for me, it's a minimum of 4X. So, I buy a truck for X amount of money, it's got to do 4X return, or else they're kind of like on the bottom of the list. I don't want them anyway. So that's why it's hard. That's why, going back to it, it's really difficult for somebody to get into the bulk game. It's just, you're not going to be able to talk to the right person. And even if you do happen to talk to the right person, they're going to probably put you so far at the bottom of the line, you're not going to get that call.
And you have to have the capital free to buy the first truck. And then when they call for the second truck, you better have X amount of, because I'm sure it's a 5-figure number for a truck.
Yep.
And you better have the 5 figures for the second truck, because if you say no to that truck, you might not get your call again. So
the
average person, and then to have the space and the processing power, like you said, you went with hardly making any money. I don't know area of the country you were living in, but you said you're making $4,000 a month. Like in most areas of the country, $4,000 a month does not stretch very far. Like
no, it does not.
When you first started, anyways, like you were paying yourself, and sounds like you're probably living on beans and rice and scanning books. Like,
well, at that time when I first started, I still had my auto repair business.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like, but I was getting ready to exit though. I was getting ready to exit. So, like $4,000 a month, like, it's fine. Didn't like swing in any way, it didn't matter.
Still a big risk.
Yeah, it is definitely for sure. Yeah.
So you were saying that there's roughly 50,000 books on a semi-load. How much of that is actually sellable? Because I'm sure you get some, even though you have the shipping discount, like, and you're able to, there has to be stuff on there that's still so worthless or trash, because I'm sure it comes in Gaylord, so it gets, like, paperbacks, I'm sure, get destroyed pretty easily.
Correct. So depending on what we call our minimum profit setup, and it's going to range a little bit differently from bulk seller to bulk seller. The lower minimum profit out you would take per book, the higher what we call the accept rate you would have per truckload. For me, being at a minimum of $1 per book is what we accept in terms of selling on our online platforms like Amazon, eBay. Our conversion rate our accepted rate is roughly about 10%. Right. So, 10 to 12%. So roughly on, one particular Gaylord of 1,000 books, we would have like about 100 to 120 books per se that we find that are sellable.
Mm-hmm. So in one Gaylord, you only get about $100. How many books are roughly in a Gaylord?
About 1,000. Yeah. So yeah, roughly this. So that's like 10% of a Gaylord. Yeah.
What do you do with the other 900 books per Gaylord?
So that's only the see, this is where a lot of people don't understand about my business. It's not just the first net, right? So we call it multiple layers of monetization. So the first layer of monetization is really just being able to sell these books on the online platforms like Amazon and eBay. And then we have your secondary, third, and fourth levels of monetization, which is going to be our wholesalers. Okay. Then we have buyback companies, right? There's companies like World of Books, Thrift Books, which will actually buy some of the books that we don't want, right? And then let's see, we also have bookstore contracts as well that we sell to individual bookstores. So we have that as well. What else do we have? At the end of the line, if none of those are profitable, then it goes to recycling. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then even at the recycling level, we still get monetized at that level as well. So there's literally not a sheet of paper that we don't monetize. Nice. Yeah. And again,
so it goes through your filter, like the top books get listed for you, and then you try to get World of Books or some of the other big guys.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it goes through a lot of filters. It's like, what do they call it? The lowest hanging fruit first, right? The biggest profit. And then it goes through all the filters so that we completely juice a load to the point where, at the end of the day, we pay very little to almost break even point with what we pay for the truck. Mm-hmm. And that's how you make money.
That's another barrier of entry that others don't have. Like, obviously, you can't just go to your local recycling facility and say, I'm going to have a bunch of books. You want to pay me for them? Like, you had to have some kind of connection or setup to be able to sell your books to, because the average guy is going to have to, like, if I bought an estate out and there was 1,000 books in there and they were worthless, I'd just have to go take them to my local recycling place and be like, it's recyclable paper, take them. So I don't have to pay the trash bill. So
when I consult with some people, that want to get into this particular model, one of the things that I make sure that they understand is, the setup, and the setup requires a good way for you to get rid of what we call the duds, which is the non-sellables, right? So your duds, you need to find a good way. And, a lot of people that I consult with, their first answer is like, well, yeah, I'll just take them back over to Goodwill and just dump it with them, and then my question.
50 Gaylords off of Goodwill.
Well, you can't. But then, even if they can drop like a few Gaylords over and like, pack it in their truck. Now, it's super inefficient. You're burning so much time, and time is money. In this business, time is absolutely money. So you're burning all that time. And then at the end of the day, well, the book cycle is very interesting. You give it to Goodwill, it will mesh. You're going to get it right back.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to guess most of your suppliers are stuff that gets theirs through big chains like Goodwills, and then they get shipped to the bins. I've been to the bins, I've peeked in, and I've seen the Gaylord stacked to the ceiling full of, and the bales of clothes. I'm sure the bales of clothes go to the big clothes buyers, and the books go to like guys like you, and and they got full of metal that
that's
it's
right.
Going to recycle back through, and it's just
it cycles. For sure it cycles. For sure it cycles. If they and I can verify with you, I'll tell you, like if one Goodwill store doesn't sell their goods, right? Guess what? They're gonna go ahead and ship it off to another Goodwill store. Mm-hmm. So if you hit up, all your Goodwill stores in this particular area, well, guess what? Eventually, you're gonna see the same books that you dumped over there. So that doesn't make it efficient.
Outlet center where they ship it off to someone like you, and
when they ship it to someone like me, at the end of the day, nobody really gets it back. But you taking it back to Goodwill, you're just putting it back into the cycle, which is you're just hurting yourself.
So with books, because I know, and room is an issue for you. How long does your average item stay listed before it sells? And do you have some long tail items that have been listed for a very long time, just waiting for that right buyer? Like,
that's a good question. So we cut it off at 1 year.
So once it has a birthday, you recycle it, or it goes through your
correct
system of getting rid of stuff. So
right. So every month we have a process called weeding out. So we would just go ahead and print out, where in our shelf location are the books that has exceeded 364 days, right? So anything, above that day range is automatically scrapped, so we could do that in one fell swoop, hit the scrap it all button, hopefully not the entire inventory. And then, those will be gone.
Which is the beauty of your business, because you have a real similar price per book, the way you're buying them. So it isn't like I have stuff in my inventory that's been there 2 or 3 years, but I'm like, I paid $80 for that. I'm not going to, it's a $400, like real specific, like industrial piece that you're waiting for the right factory that needs it that day.
Right.
I'm not going to pull an $80 part off that I paid $80 for and throw it away, but you have pennies in these books. So it's,
literally
there's less of an emotional attachment to it.
Zero.
Than the thing I paid up $80 for. Now I'm going to sell for $400.
Absolutely.
So I'll let stuff ride for years on my shelves sometimes.
Yeah, no. As a matter of fact, the longer it stays on the shelves, the more of a depreciating value it has. It's actually draining money from me. So,
yeah, because you're paying for that space.
I'm paying for that space. I'm paying rent for it, and they're not paying rent for it. So, they, if it sells, then they pay the rent. But if it doesn't sell, well, it's a bad tenant. So, got to cut them loose.
And in your situation, that book that's taking up the space could be a $2 profit item that's literally taking up a space. At least mine that's taking up a space is a $400 item. So it's kind of worth it a little bit, but you don't have the emotional attachment of somebody who's going in.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, in our inventory system and our pricing structure, we actually decrease the price of our long tail inventory. To at the very end of 275 day plus, we set it to maybe 50 cents or possibly even a break even. I'm not too sure about that, what my manager said it at, but we just want to get rid of it at that point, so yeah, definitely no attachment. We want that space back. We want to put fresh inventory up there. For whatever reason, it didn't sell. It just didn't sell, but yeah, we want that space back. But I will tell you, it's not very often that happens. Whatever we put on our shelves, 90% of it sells.
Yeah, because you're vetting with your software, and I've played around with Amazon scan tools. It'll tell you how fast, how often this thing sells and the average price. So I'm sure you're doing that homework.
Exactly.
Yep.
It, so. Exactly. So yeah, it's the sales velocity of an item, and how often it sells. All that is baked into whether we want it on our shelves or not. So So it doesn't happen very often that we have a whole lot that doesn't sell, but I would say about 10% of it.
So hiring employees. I tried to scale above it. Early 2025, I decided that I was going to take it to the next level, and I was going to try to scale beyond the max of what a solo everything eBay seller. And I'm sure you're familiar with that because you're in the resale group. So, by yourself, you're going to max out, So I figured I was going to hire 2 employees. One situation, which I'm sure you've dealt with because you've had several, showing up late, didn't care when they came, missed a bunch, and you've dealt with that. And my other one was, because I've only done it 2, she did a good job. She was a little slow, but she did a good job. But once she mastered listing and everything on eBay, she came in one day and said, I think I'm going to stay home and just start listing my own stuff. So she got paid eBay training from someone who sells a lot, because not to be bashed, I sell a lot for everything seller, by myself. So she took her 2 months. She worked for 2 months and got good enough, and compared to what I was paying her, she could go make more money selling,
Yeah.
She took off. So what's your experience like, how you vet them and
so
make sure you get the right people in there?
Yeah. Well, number one, vetting them is super important. To this day, I don't think I've had any employee actually quit and said I'm just going to go ahead and sell books because, and again, it's, the software that we use is already pushes a lot of people out. They can't afford it, they're not going to be able to do that. The amount of cash flow necessary to actually like make it worthwhile is also, pretty high. So that keeps a lot of people out too.
Yours is unique because of the barrier of entry.
Exactly.
What I'm doing is a lower barrier of entry. You just gotta go
exactly that.
buy stuff and put it on eBay. So
perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect way. Yeah, the barrier of entry is the term I was looking for. But in terms of employees, over the years, I've tried to keep in mind that I'm not desperate, right? So when you are in a desperate need for an employee, you're going to hire the wrong one, So even if you are like in very dire need, it's like, oh man, I really would love my weekends back, man. Can we get somebody in here and help me list all this crap so I get my weekends back? You could think that, but just think like you don't need that person, right? So you formulate a higher standard of hiring. And that's what we do. Most of the hiring is still done by myself. And I have a very high standard of hiring people. I would go through an average of 250 applicants to have actually 2 in-person interviews, right? And then out of the 2 in-person interviews, I may hire 1. So that's how stringent I am. And even though honestly, it is a minimum wage job. When I hire sorters, it's a minimum wage job, right? So it's not that, but what I'm looking for is like, well, why do you need this minimum wage job? Because I'm a college student and I just need some pay, right? I'm trying to pay my way through school. So you kind of get the feel for it. You don't want job hoppers is what I call them. You don't want somebody that's like, well, I worked at BK one day, but then I'm working at McDonald's the next day. And, I'm just like hopping around jobs until I feel like I could get away with doing the least amount of work possible, basically is what it sounds like. So we don't hire those. So we hire people that have a certain need of the particular position. And once we understood that, our churn rate has been really low. I don't think there's anybody that's in my company right now that has not been there for at least a year.
Wow. So you're able to get people, I don't know, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Maryland.
So you're able to get people to come in and work for minimum wage and stay, actually.
Yeah.
Which I was paying more than minimum wage, but I'm going to guess your listing is way easier than my listing because it's books with software that puts the cover up, Mine, I bring my girls parts off a Ford Explorer one day that they got to identify and list, and then the next day they have antiques, and then the next day they have industrial drill bits. And
correct. So I mean, I can see that. And I think having a good actual SOP for training is super important in that aspect, especially when you're doing it with a variety of items. We do granulate our job positions very much so. So one person is only doing listing. They're not going to do sorting, right? If they're done with all their listing work and they don't have anything to do, they're still not going to be doing sorting. Right. So we really isolate them to one particular job. And I feel like over the years, when I can isolate any people that I hire to doing one particular task, they really excel at that task and they feel accomplished. And that's the thing, like everybody just wants to feel a little bit more accomplished at the end of the day that they've done a good job. When you spread it too thin, it's like, well, you got to do this. And if you run out of this, then you got to do this. And then you got to do this after that. That just creates such a kind of like an internal anxiety amongst them. I feel that they're just like, oh man, this job is such a drain. I go home and I'm drained and I don't want to do this anymore. So then they come in and they just don't give their all. So
yeah. My thing is, I just need you to list. I will load up a big rack. Just try to average 10 items an hour is all I ask. I don't care if you have your headphones in. If you can average if you average 10 items an hour, you're never going to hear me complain. And tried to make it real laid back and easy, and it just didn't work. And the headaches just kind of be like, you know what? I'm just going to target higher dollar items, and that's how I'm going to continue to scale. Is just
I think listing like different variety of items could be a little bit tough. I don't know. I've not tackled that yet. So you would know better than me the difficulties in that aspect.
Yeah, and my barrier of entry is so low. If I do get a really good employee and I'm paying them. In Indiana, minimum wage is only like $7.75, so I was paying them double minimum wage.
You say $7.75?
I believe it's $7.75, but nobody pays minimum wage here.
Okay,
it's the legal minimum wage, but McDonald's starts the kids out at $12-13 an hour.
Like, okay. So it's like $7.75. I need to move my whole business to Indiana.
No, nobody pays anybody minimum wage here. It's just like the legal. So I was paying them double minimum wage, so not like crazy money, but anybody who's going to come in and really excel is going to realize real quick, I can do this on my own because it's not rocket science. So.
Right. So no, you're right. Yeah, your barrier of entry is definitely very different than mine. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we know where you're at now. What's your goals for the future, and what's your goals, and where do you want this to end at? Do you want to be World of Bucks?
Nah, I don't think so.
Or are you kind of just happy being the middle level, like below the two big guys, but bigger than the few guys?
I mean, I just want to be like semi-decent in terms of like the scale of the company. I guess if you had to put a number to it right now, for 2026, all revenue sources combined, we're probably shooting a little bit under 2 million. I think I want to just take that to maybe about 10 million and call it a day.
So you're still got a ways to go.
I still got a ways to grow, and it's possible too. It's not like, well, that's scaling a mountain. No, it's just finding the right lease or the right warehouse space. Just basically doing everything that I've been doing, but just like multiplying it over. Now we've already located a lot of sources. We just don't have the space for them.
So it don't sound like you have any problem getting books because you're turning books away. So it's just finding the real estate big enough to scale. Because how many square feet did you say you're at? Like 12,000?
12,000 is the total. So our inbound, what we call our inbound warehouse, is 7,000, and our outbound warehouse, which stores all our shelves and all our books for sale and shipping, that's roughly about 4 and some change. So about 12,000 total.
What size do you think you need to hit 10 million? What size warehouse?
I think roughly about 100,000 square foot.
Oh wow, that's a big building.
That's a huge building. That's multiple truck bays and huge. Like I would need a little scooter to get around in.
Now, something I've always wondered about scaling, because scaling is the hardest part of any business. Do you notice you ever hit a wall where if I bring in these 2 extra guys, we'll do this much extra, but compared to what I have to pay them to do this, is there a wall it hits where it's not worth it? Or have you noticed every time you've upped your employee count, the revenue has well exceeded what you're putting out by having those additional employees?
Right. So, we always take a look at our revenue graph, right? So you have your X and Y axis of, how many truckloads you take in, multiply that by how many accept rates, and multiply that by how many Gaylords are processed per sorter per day. So we track all those metrics, and we have a minimum. And I think the key to scaling a business is to make sure that you do not give up your expectations just because you're adding on new employees. So you got to keep your standards high, right? So all things different. The trucks that come in is not going to change. Your warehouse space, you upgrade it. So space is space. That's not going to change. So the only thing that changes really, what's the variable, is the quality of your employee. And that's really hard to get. So if anybody ever gets a good employee, keep them. Do whatever you can to keep them, because you will be paying a lot more to hire somebody new, rather than just paying your current employees just a little bit more, right? So I always give my employees yearly evaluations. I give them yearly raises. They know they do a good job for me. I always praise them. But I think that's the trick, though. If you keep quality employees, you can scale, because nothing else changes, right? You keep the expectations there. And for us, we track how much work every person does, how fast they do it, because that's important. And that's iterated many times over the week. We need this done because why we need this done. Because let's say, John, if you don't get your books sorted, well, Mary doesn't have any books to list. And then, Sherry doesn't have books to ship out, and then Carl can't get any more books because guess what? The company's out of money. We didn't sell shit because guess what? You didn't sort the books.
If one guy fails in the line, you cause 4 other people to be waiting, and not so you're paying 4 people to not do nothing if somebody doesn't get their job done.
Yep. I even gone so far as to make it only happened one time, but he really needed a kick in the ass, to have one employee actually apologize to all the other employees because he failed in his duties to provide them with the workload that they needed to be able to get their hours. Right. And that's how it works. And that is the level of expectation and the level of seriousness that I present even at a minimum wage position. Right. Some people could take it as a joke and then they're not hired. Some people are like, I understand what you need. I need hours from you. I'm still going to school, so I would appreciate the hours. You got it. Works hand in hand.
How hands-on are you in the day-to-day and the sorting, listing, picking, shipping?
So for shipping, I spent Mondays is rough. Mondays because we are closed on the weekends.
I know all about Monday shipping. So.
Yeah, so we could be open on the weekend, but I really want to give my employees that work, Monday through Friday a break. Like everybody deserves a break, and that means more to them than any sort of pay raise. So they really do enjoy their weekends. So then Friday, we have orders coming in, Saturday orders coming in, Sunday orders coming in. So on a Monday, we have anywhere from between 800 to 1,000 orders to ship out. So that's like hustle. So my first hour and a half or so on a Monday morning, I would help them just do some shipping, right? It's usually 3 employees that are picking books. And I would help out with the shipping. And then after they're done picking the books, then all 3 of them would start shipping out. So then usually we can get everything done before 12 o'clock.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my Monday. Tuesdays is a home office day for me. I catch up on emails, and Thursdays as well, sometimes even Wednesday. So I'm not really in the day to day outside of that, not really a whole lot. The ones that really require my attention and I'm having a difficulty to kind of like find somebody to replace me in this aspect is handling the antiquarian side, right? So these are non-barcoded books. These are very old, 1800s, requires like more in-depth research, but they can pan out to be several $100s per book, right? Signatures that need verification, all those specialty things. And we have a process. Everybody, when they're sorting books and they run into these sort of things, they put it aside and they call it the Dave palette. And then Dave is the one that goes through these pallets, and that's usually when I'm at the warehouse, I would take a good 4 hours just to sift through all of that. And then I'm also the ones to actually take the pictures and list those as well. Right. And that is a difficult one for me to relinquish. I feel like there probably is a way for me to do that, but I haven't gotten there yet though. I will need to, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Not including your good old cherry picking days, because I'm sure you found some really cool stuff when you were cherry picking. What's the craziest thing that ever came in on a big bulk Gaylord that was just got, when it comes to your Gaylord, it's gone through the Goodwill stores, probably multiple of them. It's probably been to the outlets. It's been shifted to a warehouse. What's the craziest thing that just got missed through that whole process and it's came in on a Gaylord?
A fleshlight. No, I'm joking. We picked up from this one estate place, and he like purchased and sold, people's estates. And he's, this one guy, he had like these boxes of memorabilia, from this one estate. It included books, pictures, of astronauts and et cetera, et cetera. So I bought the whole lot for $5 a box. And I think it was like 20 boxes. So I spent like $100 on everything. Within these boxes, there was a whole slew of astronaut photos that was signed. I'm talking like Apollo and, the first one, what's his name? Armstrong. Neil Armstrong, right? So, a whole slew of those signed pictures. I had them certified and actually only 2 of them was actually legit, but one of them was Armstrong. So that was really cool. And then the other one, which really, really made like headlines for me in my social media is JFK's first book when he came out of school It was called Why England Slept. And I had the very first edition of that book. So the very first print, first edition, and he signed it. So I sold that thing for like $6,500. So out of a $5 box.
Nice.
Blew my mind. It was crazy. I'm like,
anything that's came in any of your big bulk Gaylords that like blew your mind, that made it through like the Goodwills.
Pokemon cards.
Just got like a binder got slipped in there or something in the book.
Binder, boxes. There was like all vintage stuff. Of recent, I just had this binder fall on my lap from, our Gaylords, and it was total up to like $6,000 in value.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's a good find in a Gaylord that's been passed through a bunch of hands.
Oh, yeah. So I sold it to a collector for cheap. But, for me, it was like, didn't matter. I mean, some of the cars weren't like in the best of conditions either. So I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. So that's good. So I sold it for like $3,500 is what I sold it for, but still, I'll take it, Yeah,
you have pennies in it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really good. And we also found cash too.
Okay, there was, in like a book.
Yeah. So it was in a currency book, and one of my guys found it. See, that's why I love my employees. I love them. Right.
They told you about it and put on the Dave palette.
Well, they didn't even. It just kept dropping money. There's this guy that he was going through a book. He was like conditioning it, and he found like, some $20 bills in this currency book. And then next thing you know, he dumped it over, and it just basically just rained bills. It's the like really thick, like phone book looking currency book, right? We amassed like over $2,000 in bills from that book. So crazy. I bought lunch for the entire team for like the entire week.
Okay, before I let you go, is there any parts of your business that I didn't cover that we probably should?
Let's see. We cover logistics, we cover shipping, cover some processing. I do want to think that the public really needs to know this. From what I show in my social media is a snapshot, a kind of like a window into my operation, right? And it's a huge operation, and I fully understand that it's a huge operation. Not everybody wants to get that big, and that's okay. You don't have to get that big, and what I try to do and why I do my social media is to tell people, like, a lot of people are just overlooking books, right? A lot of people are just overlooking it. I fully believe that if you have just one bookshelf of space, under the right conditions, you can churn out like a good $1,000 a month out of that one bookshelf space, right? And that's what I want people to just fully understand. Like, it doesn't have to be, 150,000 books at a time, right? Just be more mindful of when you're going to your thrift store anyway, you're sourcing anyway. Take a look at the books. It'll take you, I promise you, if you are trained correctly on it, it will take you maybe like 10, 15 minutes. Okay. And you might end up with $100 extra for that 10, 15 minutes, right? So
if someone's walking to the thrift store and just scanning the spines without pulling them out and scanning everything, what's one thing they should be looking for, like, to make them like, I need to stop and pull and check this book?
Ooh, textbooks.
Textbooks, yep.
Textbooks.
I've had some good luck with some textbooks. So
yep, textbooks is the number one thing. Nonfiction in general, but if you can just spot textbooks, if you see chemistry on there, algebra, whatever the case, you see it on the spine, check it.
So if you're in a thrift store and you normally avoid books because you don't want to go through the tedious process of scanning through the $6 free shipping books, and you don't have the shipping contracts like Dave, at least scan the spines and look for some textbooks real quick.
Yep, absolutely. And that'll get you some money.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time because I know you're a busy guy. Shout out your social media handles so people know where they can find you.
You can find me, FBA_Dave, at both Instagram and Facebook. You can possibly also find me on YouTube, but I'll be growing that anyway, so that don't matter. But follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and I will share a whole lot of tips on how you can make some money sourcing books yourself.
I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Take care.
Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips, he teach fire Tims and killer tips. Buy or sell us, wheel and deal. Real stories, keep it real. Snag a bargain, flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.